You've just launched the game, taken your first few steps, and now you're staring at an empty map, wondering, what do I actually need to do in this game? What should I do? What if I mess something up? Don't worry, we've all been there. The truth is, those first few hours of gameplay are way more important than they seem. They lay the foundations for everything that comes after: your factory's efficiency, your resource flow, and whether you'll be calmly expanding or constantly fixing disasters. In this video, I'll walk you through 10 essential things to do during your first hours, so you can avoid beginner mistakes and build a strong, smooth running base right from the start. Once the game starts, very few resources are available, and you need to start with the most basic ones. You have just landed next to the spacecraft racks. Those racks contain items, so make sure you take advantage of it and collect them. You can also deconstruct the racks, which will give you space to start building your base. The second way to gather basic resources is by mining rocks. Rocks contain stone, and the bigger ones also contain coal. Both resources will be useful early in the game. Stones will allow you to craft items such as stone furnaces, and coal can be used as fuel in those same furnaces, or other machines such as boilers or burner mining drills. Another fuel that can be used and is easily accessible as well early in the game is wood. It is simple to chop them and fairly fast. Even though they are easy to get, they get consumed much faster than coal, which makes it a worse option. The last and final way to gather resources is by mining them. Simply go on top of a patch, it can be any patch, iron ore, copper ore, stone or coal, and mine them with the pickaxe. This method is a bit tedious, and you'll want to move away as fast as you can by automating it, so you don't need to manually gather resources. At the beginning, you don't have the resources and the technology to build a proper base that can scale. So out of option, you need to leave it for later. You need to start small, get access to better technologies through research, and expand. Bearing that in mind, you need to start with a small temporary base. That means you won't need to overthink about space and how to piece everything together, and only focus on what is needed right now. There are a few elements to consider when looking at a good location. You need to access basic resources such as iron ore, copper ore, coal, stone to build your base, and you'll also need to supply your boilers with water to produce electricity. Ideally, you want those 5 resources as close to each other as possible and as close to your spawning point as well. This will prevent you from running long distances to gather those different resources early in the game, and it will also help with defending your base against biters, as a smaller surface will need to be covered by defenses. In many situations, you'll find yourself hoping you had more items available because they take a long time to craft, especially if they require intermediate products such as iron gear wheels. There are a few things that can be done to prevent that. The first one, especially early in the game, is to make sure you're always crafting items, because chances are you will need them later, and you can use this time to do something else like gathering resources. Another thing you can do is to take advantage of the stack size. A lot of machines have a stack slot. Depending on the resource, the number of items that can be in that slot can vary, but for example, a stone furnace can get 50 ores. It means the stone furnace is going to keep smelting until it either runs out of fuel or the slot is full with 50 plates. You can take advantage of this by filling a furnace with 50 ores and let it smelt 50 items and collect them manually. Therefore, multiplying the furnaces will also increase the storage capacity. Keeping the same mindset of avoiding as many interventions as possible, chests will help a lot to achieve this goal early in the game. They can be used to store resources that are needed to craft items in an assembly machine, for example, and to store the produced product. That way, it is not needed to wait patiently for the resources to be assembled, but they can be assembled while doing something else. Once you have crafted a few items, you'll want to automate little by little. The first step will be to automate mining. The first available machine will be the burner mining drill. It needs fuel to run. Coal and wood will be your only options. Coal lasts longer, therefore it should be prioritized. Having a few of them will allow you to produce more items faster. Given coal is being used as a fuel for many machines, it is always a good idea to start mining it first, so it can be used to mine other resources like iron ore or copper ore. Those resources can be mined with a burner mining drill. For the coal, the drills can be used to sort the mined coal. It allows you to leave the drill to work for a while and come back later to pick up the coal without having to use any chest. For the other resources, you could store them directly in a chest, but drills can deliver the mined resource directly to a stone furnace. So, if a stone furnace and a burning mining drills are placed side by side correctly, with the arrow from the drill pointing to the furnace will automatically smelt the ore until the slot is full. That allows the furnaces to work autonomously for a while. This automation can be taken a bit further without too much effort. 50 coal in the mining drill will last long enough to have more than 50 resources smelted. It means that you will need to pick those items once it reaches 50, or it will simply stop smelting. To remove this intervention, we can simply add a chest with an inserter. The inserter will take the smelted resource from the furnace to place it in the chest. Chests have a much bigger capacity, allowing for much more flexibility. This early in the game, the only viable inserter available is the burner inserter. Not the best to use, but it still lasts long enough if fully fueled with coal, a solution good enough in this case. You can then apply this solution when mining iron ore and copper ore to smelt them into plates. Iron and copper plates are the key ingredients of many important recipes. It is therefore important to produce them in large quantities as soon as possible. This will allow you to progress faster. Electricity will soon become essential to your base expansion. Electricity can be produced in many different ways, but there is only a single one that is viable at the beginning, and that is by using steam engines. Steam engines require steam to work, and steam is basically hot water that you can get using boilers. Hence, the importance of being close to water. To pump the water, you will need an offshore pump and some pipes that you will need to connect to the boiler. This same boiler will consume coal and produce steam that can then be consumed by the steam engines. In this case, it is a great opportunity to use burner inserters to deliver the coal because it means they will always have access to coal and can deliver it to themselves. So you won't ever need to do it manually. Another important thing to note is that boilers can supply up to 2 steam engines and they produce quite a bit of pollution. So if you build too many of them too quickly, death is awaiting you around the corner. To consume this power freshly generated, you will need poles. The first pole available is a small electric pole and can be crafted with copper cable and wood. Wood can be gathered by chopping trees. Research is progress. You need to research new technologies to unlock them and give you access to more efficient mining, smelting and assembly machines. Your first researches will be electric mining, automation, gun turret, steel processing, logistic science pack, just to name a few. To research those technologies, you will need labs and science packs. They both can be crafted by hand. Once the science lab has been crafted, it can be placed and filled with science packs. There are many different science packs, but that early in the game, only the automation science pack, which is red, will be available, and soon after the logistic science pack, which is green. Those science packs require basic resources such as iron plates and copper plates that you can quickly craft by hand. For that reason, craft as many as you can and fill your labs with them. Research lab speed can be increased through technologies later in the game, but fortunately enough, there is a much simpler way to increase the research speed. You simply need to use more labs. That's an easy way to speed up the research. Another way to improve the speed of your research is to unqueue them. It means that once the current one is finished, you don't need to manually start a new research, but the next one in the queue will be researched automatically. It is very useful to progress faster and not let your labs idle. After that, you look at automating the research, but you are still at an early stage with a temporary base. Therefore, you can use some of the techniques mentioned before with the chest, but you can also use assembly machines that deliver the science packs directly to the labs. When used with chest, it doesn't require as many manual interventions. At this point, most of your basic needs will be semi-automated, but you still need to fill chests with items or having multiple chests to store a common resource. To solve this problem and take the automation even further, Belts and inserters need to be used. You can deliver the produced coal directly on a belt or by using an inserter and then feed the coal from the conveyor belt to your stone furnaces or burner mining drills. That way, you no longer need to supply coal manually to your furnaces and drills. You can now use electric inserters, which means you will never have to refuel them. This removes one reason for your productions to stop and reduce manual interventions. However, you will need to ensure a pole supply power to the inserter to work. At this time, you will probably have the electric mining drills unlocked. If not, you probably should. That will also remove the need to use coal to run them. This will help to prevent them from idling. However, it is important to keep in mind the electricity is generated with boilers that require coal themselves, so any failures on that side will stop the production. Another important step to take in the scale-up phase is to craft iron gear wheels. They are used in many recipes, and having a few assembly machines crafting them and a few chests storing them will help you later. Never a luxury, always a necessity. Safety will quickly become a crucial part of your survival, as the vital population will grow alongside the pollution you're producing. Very quickly, you will need more machines that produce a lot of pollution, such as boilers and burner mining drills. This pollution can either be absorbed by trees, so don't cut them unnecessarily, or by biters. One aspect of keeping your base safe is to control the pollution production, but that will not get you very far. At some point, you will need more robust defenses. The idea is to get there gradually. You will need to first research the needed technologies, but once researched, you can start by crafting an armor for yourself, as well as a rifle and sufficient ammo. To help with the ammo production, you can use assembling machines to automate it. After that, you can start building turrets. Having a compact base will help with the coverage of those turrets, increasing their effectiveness and reducing the number needed. At this point, walls are not available in sufficient quantities. The turrets should be able to guarantee safety by themselves, as biters should not be strong enough at this time. Turrets use magazines when shooting. They can be consumed quite quickly. Without them, the turrets will simply not work. So make sure there is always enough ammo in your turret and that your production can keep up. Another useful device is the radar. It can be used to scan the surrounding area, but more importantly, it allows you to know what happens to your base when you are far away from it, so you can make an informed decision whether you can weather the attack with your defenses or if your help is needed. Lastly, to reduce the attacks and their strength, you can attack the nearby nests and destroy them. It will be a bit time consuming and risky at first, but that will weaken the biters around your base for a while at least. It is now time to leave your temporary base behind you and look ahead to establish a permanent one. In this base, you will need to run long belts in the middle, so you need to make sure you leave enough space to do so. You also need to consider where you will place your smelting columns and train stop. All of this needs to fit together, so make sure you have enough space for expansion. Water will still be important. Your base will still need to be close to it. This will help you to expand your factory in an organized manner, where the belts in the middle can be used to deliver and consume common resources such as coal, iron plates, or copper plates. By this time, your first ore patches will have already depleted quite a bit. You don't want to run out of iron, copper, and more importantly, coal. It is time to know where to get those resources. To do so, you need to scout the surrounding areas to find those patches and start mining them. It is very likely they'll be too far away from your base to use belts transporting the resources. So, you will need to use trains. Trains require extra effort to build, especially at the beginning, but they can transport more resources faster. So plan ahead to make sure you are ready. That's it for this video. Feel free to share what you think in the comments down below and see you soon for another one.